The U.S. men's national team has obviously really kicked it into gear recently with these international friendlies. Diego, in your opinion, has Pochettino earned the fans' trust back as manager of the USA or no?
I think it's one of those where we had like three steps back, one step forward.
Hmm.
So they're making progress. Obviously, this is a better showing than the games before this break, and especially against the quality of teams. There, Ecuador, very good quality, and Australia, nothing to scoff at either. So tight games, they kept it close, which is what we want to see. At the end of the day, when the U.S. goes into that World Cup, outside of the group stage, they're going to be the underdogs. So
Hmm.
in most games, so in the game, you want to keep it tight, whether it's Spain or even a lower team like in Australia. You still want to keep it tight and make sure that you can get ahead. And it doesn't matter that they didn't win 3-0. Like, yes, it's nice, but let's be honest, it's not the quality. Like, I don't want high quality in one game. I want that consistency across the game. So if it's a 2-1 win and keeping it tight, like that's fine. It's just showing that more than once in consistency. That's just going to help them win the big games, not a big 3-0 win against Australia and then a 2-0 loss next game. It's
Mm-hmm.
consistency. It's keeping that high performance going. So it's a big progress, obviously, but I think considering a lot of the poor performances we saw before that, they were okay against the two Asian teams they played that break, the last break before that. So like it was better, but he's not fixed at all. Like it's not like we're back
Hmm.
into a tournament and he's shown us anything. It's friendlies, but he's gotten a little bit of what was the word you used? A little bit of like that good faith back from the fans.
Yeah, some trust,
Some
a little more
trust, just
trust. Yeah.
a little building on it, but obviously long way to go. I'm not going to jump the gun here because still many challenges ahead for them to overcome.
So, how does the Gold Cup performance then influence this? Because obviously they had a rather solid Gold Cup
Mm-hmm.
this summer. I mean, going farther with a much shittier team than we thought they were going to bring,
Yeah.
farther than we thought they might have done, and going into these international breaks and improving, progressing. I would say, give me a percentage. Give me a percentage of how much trust you have in Poch right now, if you had to.
100% saying he's going to the quarterfinals or semifinals of the World Cup.
Uh huh.
Because obviously, he's not going to win it, but going far enough to where we're like all beyond impressed. I'm going to go a solid 70% right now.
Ooh.
I think any
Wow.
higher, I haven't seen enough. Like you said, I think the Gold Cup was a really good performance. I know there's a lot of things to nitpick, of course, there always is,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a good performance at the end of the day, and I really think that brought it up for me. That was a good performance. They got destroyed by Mexico in the final, like Mexico dominated, but Mexico brought their A team. That was their best team, and
Right.
U.S. had a backup team. So for me, besides some like iffy performances, which I think also Poch has been learning. You see him phasing out some players, bringing in some new ones.
Yeah.
We saw the emergence of Malik Tillman during that tournament. So like I think a lot of good things came from that, and he just needs to start finding the right pieces. But he's little by little. I think right now it's an upwards trend, and for me, the Ecuador game was close, and then the Australia game, I saw the two Haji Wright goals. Those are great goals.
Yeah.
And if the U.S. can start finding like the offensive flow, they can start finding that consistency up front and get that number 9 who will put those chances away. Like I like their chances. Keep it tight. Keep it close game. I like it. I like it. But I'm not going to jump the gun and go too
Right.
far. I think they have a good group stage ahead of them in the World Cup.
Mm.
Beyond that, obviously a bit of luck of the draw depending on who they get, but also like making sure they can keep it that close game.
Yeah. I will
Um,
say this is definitely better expectation because even 2 months ago we were saying they're going to get grouped. I think a lot of
yeah,
USA fans are saying that. It still might be saying that because we haven't seen enough, which would be fair. Andres, our resident USA hater,
Yes, sir.
you think Poch is the right man now for the job or what?
I think it's just too early to tell. I think you brought up the Gold Cup. You can't even really compare those two teams. They're completely two different teams. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Completely different players. I think it's kind of unfair to Poch to compare those two teams, if I'm being completely
Hmm.
honest. But it's a little glimpse of life from Poch. I think for this past window. I think the last window you could take a grain of salt against South Korea, Japan. I think they faced a Japan side that wasn't the strongest. You could say, oh,
Hmm.
well, Mexico lost to them at the same time. It was two different Japan sides that played. In South Korea, they lost 2-0. And you can make an argument about that too. But yeah, I think this one was a lot better window. I mean, the 1-1 draw against Ecuador is pretty good. And then Australia, they looked pretty sharp as well. But I think it's one of those things where you just got to take it with a grain of salt and see what happens in this next window, because I think Paraguay and Uruguay they face in this next window in this November international window. I think is going to kind of tell, because I think they're going to be a little bit better opponents than Australia and Ecuador, just a tad bit, a different kind of thing. Maybe not Ecuador. I mean, I want to say Paraguay was probably like, it depends on the day for me.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's going to be, that will be the time to see if there's been any advancement. Because realistically, if you want to compare the windows between said two countries, you would say that Mexico played the harder opponents technically, if you want to compare the windows. But we're not talking about Mexico today. We're talking about the United States. But yeah,
if you want to bring up the 4-0 loss,
oh no, I'm just saying, you know, that we talked about that very in depth. So make sure you watch that video, because it actually just got released today, I believe, as the time of recording. But we don't gotta talk about that. But stay tuned to it. Another video that might be mentioned about said team. But yeah, I think it's a little glimmer of hope. I'm not gonna jump on the bandwagon, because you know he's like, you know, this is the first really sign of life from this Potts side in quite a while, since he's been under management. And I think so. I mean, there's still a chance they get grouped, but I don't think they're going to get grouped. But I don't think they're going to go that far at the same time. But you know what? I'm always optimistic. Not really.
What? What are you talking?
Not really.
Right. You're the optimistic one regarding the United States.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Not at all. I'm trying to stay not biased, okay, Elijah? You know how hard it is to like not be biased? It's extremely hard.
I can see it. I edit these videos. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I like what Poch is doing. I really like what Poch is doing. I was maybe higher than most on the Poch wave when he came in. He heavily disappointed me. But since the summer, right? Since his call-up fiascos, which are still continuing to this day, but he's obviously found a good core of guys here. They're looking good, right? 2-0 win against Japan. Great. I think it saved that whole window there. Obviously, that South Korea loss was bad. They didn't look good at all. But that Japan win, solid. Despite Japan maybe not being as, you know, powerful as they normally are by a good margin, I thought it was great. That Ecuador draw, I thought they looked the better side. They looked really good. And at the time, that was probably their best performance under Pochettino. Australia as well, a top performance under Pochettino, a very good window. But I do have my reservations. I would say I'm about 70% trust in Poch as well as Deo, but I do have my reservations. One of them being Roldan is an important player to Pochettino. And if Roldan is an important player to you for the USMNT national team side, I do not trust in your ball knowledge. So it's little things like that, right? It's little things like that where I think there's a consensus general idea of how this team should be set up. Individual player well. The personnel, we know who it should be. And there's continuous little call-ups here and there that rub me the wrong way, right? Miles Robinson getting a lot of game time. I would prefer Mark McKenzie over him. I would still prefer a CCV over him. Roldan getting game time. And yes, he had a great game against Australia, probably his first good performance for the USMNT in 2-3+ years. That's fine. I still don't think he should be part of the team. Alex Freeman, I don't think should be part of the team. Things like that, right? I need to see Poch take more of a stance on getting the best players in the team. And I don't know if you guys saw the interview with him talking about Roldan, but they asked him why he included him in the squad, and he's like, "Oh, he's great off the pitch. He's a great leader, great motivator. Why are we using a spot for a cheerleader then?" It's like little things like that I don't particularly like just yet, but it's looking good. I'm seeing that Pochettino is adapting, right? We're seeing a 3 at the back from him, which historically, Diego, you would know, he doesn't go 3 at the back. He has a very specific system with his teams.
I will add, I do know he, in the prime, when Spurs were battling for the title back in his day, he would resort, that was like one of his backup strategies, a 3 at the back, drop Dyer deep with an outward of Vertonghen. And that was so nice because he loved to use that in a tight game when it was back and forth, and he could use those wing backs to push forward and still keep that defensive structure. And I could see that being so good for the U.S. in those games where they know they're the underdog, and you know the offense is going to be, it's not flowing. It's not going to be quick, slick passing because it's a tough defense they got to break down. 3 at the back, wing backs pushing up, lets you have, and you have that solid midfielder, lets you have that control defensively and that counter attack ability once you win the ball. And I think having that flexibility of like being able to change formation, I'm always a big fan of flexibility. I think having 2 or 3 different strategies available depending on the situation is so important. And I
Yeah.
think as Poch is incorporating his old school three at the back, bringing it back, I think this could be such a nice like kind of ace up the sleeve. Maybe he starts with the four at the back in the game. He's not liking it, makes a few subs. All of a sudden, the flow of the U.S. is going to be different, and
Yeah. And it has
that could
been.
be such a, and it has been. And can I say Chris Richards as a three at the
Oof.
back is so good. I mean, we know he is for Crystal Palace, like how well they've been and the defensively, and bringing that ability to put him back into that back three, he's just so good there, and he makes that defense so good. And you put him alongside 2 other defenders that can. You need the recovery pace, so I don't know about Tim Ream all the time, but I understand
Right.
the point, dude. I think this kind of ability to adapt and this the fluidity of these different strategies and tactics allows players to sometimes play at their best when they don't like Chris Richards. I would argue is better in a back three than a back four, and it
Mm-hmm.
allows him to be able to perform at his best because he's able to carry the ball up on that right side. So to your point, I think that is phenomenal. I think that's a great move. I will say this, and this is just my opinion. I While I understand that usually I don't like the fact of adding a veteran player or a player that's good for the dressing room over a position someone who deserves it. I also see the value in having 1 to 2 leaders that keep the dressing room um, like locked in and knowing. Now, whether Christian Rodon is actually that person, I'm not sure. I don't know the dressing room,
Right.
but I am all for if that player keeps the mentality of the team at a higher level. Um, that is so vital in those big tough games at halftime when you're all like, dude, how do we even do this? They're there to lead, especially a lot of the young players in that team. That older, experienced person is there to kind of bring everybody up. Um, I think Tuchel did it for Jordan Henderson for England, which a lot of people were
Mm.
like, "Why is Jordan Henderson here?" Totally fair, but he said the same thing that Poch was saying, that like he provides that calming mentality to the dressing room that allows them to stick in games when it's tough. So if Christian Rodon is what Poch is saying he is, then I'm all willing to see that. And if Rodon can have a few good games like that too, then all the better. If that's what he's saying that he brings, then I'm less critical, as long as not leaving out the guy that should be there. That's my
Right.
stance on that.
Right. I would like to think that there's more players in the dressing room that can do that besides Roldan. Right. I mean, like you have Tim Ream there. I would think that Tim Ream would be that person. Chris Richards is obviously growing into that role, and he's unapologetically aggressive about this team, and that's great. I would like to think Christian Pulisic is that player. I don't, but I would like to think he is because he's been the captain for years now. Things like that. Maybe I'm just a Roldan hater, but I don't think it's worth it personally. I don't know if you guys heard this. Little sidetrack here. The World Cup, FIFA are considering expanding the roster spots by 3. So I think it'd be 26 to
Mm.
29 total spots. That is where you can put those leaders in. That's where the Memo Ochoas go. That's where the
The
Christian
goat.
Rodons
I mean, at
go.
this
He
me though,
might.
but
He might. If it's getting that dire down south. But like things like that, right? I don't know if that spot should be wasted. But all this to say, Deo, to coincide with your point, it looks like Poch knows this team now. And for
Mhm.
the longest time, it looked like he didn't care. He didn't try to learn this team. He spent his time doing other things. And he was just calling up players that maybe the USSF told him to. Maybe Don Garber told him to, things like that. Now it's starting to look like he knows who he likes and wants to run with it. It's just that it took so long. He had so much time, and there was already a foundation there. We had a good core of players that Berhalter wanted to use, right? And he kind of went away from that even then. So that's where, like, I think a lot of the trust was lost, but he is getting it back now. To you both, this question's for you both. What would it take for Poch to get almost full trust back before the World Cup? Because, we can't wait that long, right? You don't want to have so much distrust in the manager before the World Cup. What could he do before then, in your guys' opinion, to get a lot of that trust back, more so than that he hasn't already?
I guess win more games. I mean, it's pretty simple. I think it's just win more games convincingly. I think this November window is going to be important. I think, beating Australia is kind of a given in the sense of, of where you want to be. You know what I mean? It's not like, no disrespect to Australia. It's just the fact that you're a host nation. You're good. You have players that should be doing what they're doing, right? So you should be beating the likes of Australia. This shouldn't be like something to get hyped about. This is just something that needs to be given. You know what I mean? Ecuador too, like that they played well against Ecuador. That should be a given. You know what I mean? They should be able to go toe to toe with these teams, especially at like what's expected of these players at these high caliber teams. Now, if this was like a Jamaica type thing, this is something to be hyped about, or like a some lower level international team, something to be hyped about. Like if Australia walked in here and beat the United States and then tied Ecuador type thing, you'd be like, okay, like that's random. But maybe they're building something here. The United States is just something that's got to build. They just got to be consistent because like there's been several times we made videos where it's been like, oh, the United States have looked like they're doing something, and then all of a sudden, like in the next few windows, it's kind of they fall down the stairs. They walked up the stairs and then they tripped and fell back down the stairs. So it's just staying consistent. We talked about it earlier in the video. Diego too mentioned it. It's just being consistent. That's the thing. It's these next few international windows are going to be tough. The opponents are only getting harder. And it's just one of those things where you got to like just stay true to what they've been doing and see what happens. I think that's just got to be consistently winning or consistently playing well. You don't have to win every game.
Like that Ecuador game.
Yeah, you don't have to win the game to build something on. Obviously, you don't have to. You can get a draw, even a loss, depending on how you lose. There's something always positive to take away from every game. But yeah, just something.
But losing like maybe like a 4-0. To some.
You don't have to. You're just hating, bro.
It's just on my mind because I was editing the video right now. I just been on my mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Whatever. That was like an unbiased. True take, and then you just go and ruin it. You know what? Fuck you. I have no confidence in Poch. No matter what the hell he does, they're gonna do shit. I don't care anymore. All right, go on to Diego. Fuck this bullshit.
I think these next few games, I think Andres was spot on the fact that they don't have to, like, obviously a win is a win, right? Like, of course, but they don't have to win. We just want to see some patterns that are like, okay, like that was good. We saw some bright spots there. Like, let's keep that moving. And I remember I've seen a lot of, I've watched a lot of World Cup games these past few tournaments that has happened, and Elijah's as well, and we've watched it together, and and I feel like I can say this, that like most of the time when the teams make those finals, those runs are never pretty. They're never pretty. There's always games that are tough. They didn't play that well, but they edged out a 1-1 draw and won on penalties. They won 2-1, barely beat a team 4-3. Like some games just get crazy, but it's the fact that you just have to get that final chance to score and win that game. So it's never going to be pretty. So for me, it's not about being pretty. Like obviously it's nice, right? Like if you can be pretty, great. But it's about the result at the end of the day. And if by the time we get to the World Cup, and we saw really good patterns, didn't have to win every game, every friendly leading up to it, but we saw some good patterns that are like, yes, they can be in every game and they can fight their way through every game. That is what's going to be a big difference. So even if they go ahead and lose 1-0 or draw 1-1, but we were like, dude, that was good. Like maybe they need a little more luck, a little more clinicality. Maybe it was a silly mistake by a defender that we're like, okay, that was a solo isolated mistake. It wasn't a whole team thing. For me, that would be big bright spots that you can point to the World Cup and be like, they have the chance to go in there and fight tooth and nail to win those games.
He's on the right track, man. He's on the right track. We might be at that World Cup feeling very good about Poch compared to even a year prior where we were just kind of sitting there like, how much better, more of an improvement is he on Triple G?
The turnaround
on Big Greg Berhalter.
The turnaround is crazy.
Yeah,
the glazing is unreal.
This is wild. I really pissed him off with that 4-0 comment. I'm sorry, Andres. No, I mean, you can't help but feel a little more optimistic right now. Like, we could have been sitting here, even after that South Korea game, man, that was poor. And I didn't have much hope moving forward. We won against Japan, great draw against Ecuador, won against Australia. We could have lost every single one of those games. Every single one of those teams have the ability to beat the USA. And they were all going to be in tough matchups. But the fact that we were able to get through them, feeling pretty good afterwards, and, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. So I can't help but feel optimistic. Now, we could be sitting here in a month's time having lost 4-0 to an Uruguay or a 2-0 to Paraguay. and I completely have to retract everything I said, but that is the nature of international football. It's just right now in this moment, things are looking up. things have been going up in an upwards trend, and that's all I can ask for. Any lasting thoughts, gentlemen, before we end this video?
I'm still thinking that Pulisic should not be the captain, but we'll let that one.
It's got to be Chris Richards now. It's got to be Chris Richards.
I mean, literally
he's
anyone who's shown some type of leadership and like maturity at a consistent level, that's what I want. And no offense to Pulisic, he's obviously one of the greatest, if not potentially the greatest U.S. player we've seen in maybe some ever. But like, he's not a captain, at least not right now. He's not captain material. I feel like I've seen this too often where captains, for me, they have to have so many things. They have to have composure. They need to have leadership, but they also need to have compassion for their teammates. And I feel like Pulisic doesn't always have all those three at the same time, even whether he's always sometimes lacking the maturity or he's lacking that composure. Um, and for me, like someone like you said, like Chris Richards, or someone who just provides that calming presence, for me is what makes a truly great leader who will fight for you, but who won't completely lose his shit just because he messed something up. Like you want someone who's just a solid, stable presence. And I don't know, I it's not Pulisic for me.
I like that, 100%. Your captain can't be the guy going making documentaries about how we're talking shit about him.
No,
like that's just not it. But
they didn't make David Beckham captain when he was playing for United back in the day. Guess who it was? It was Roy Keane. So
the aggressor, yeah. I mean, and Chris Richards is that guy. I think he's first of all great. Obviously, Christian Pulisic, a big reason why he is captain is because he is the best player on that pitch. But Chris Richards is the rock at the back line. He's been having the post-game interviews talking about how they're lucky this was a fucking friendly. He said, fuck a friendly. All these things, he's saying what you want to hear from your team's captain. He's the one energizing this team, not Pulisic. And I don't want to talk shit about Pulisic, but your captain can't be the guy who's not showing up to tournaments and is getting hurt all the time. Like, a lot of that isn't his own doing, but it's just circumstance that can't be the case. Chris Richards has got to be in there. All right. Well, I believe that is going to be it for us from this video, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys have an opinion on whether Poch has earned your trust back or not, let us know in the comments down below. Leave a like if you're still excited to watch USA next month against Uruguay, Paraguay, and then the World Cup later on, ignoring the other international breaks before then. And make sure to subscribe for more USMNT, more CONCACAF, more World Cup content. My name was Elijah. I was joined by Andres and Diego per usual. We are getting football. We'll see you guys in the future video. Take care.